How much money should you be making to afford $500,000 car? Hi guys, Sam from Sky Finance Group. Today I'll be answering a few questions my clients have provided. I hope it's going to be helpful for you. Okay, let's get started. Right. What are the major differences between consulting with a mortgage broker as opposed to going directly to the bank? It's a very good question. Now, as a consumer, you have the option to go directly to the bank or to a mortgage broker. Now, if you're going directly to the bank will offer you the products and services they have to offer, and you will not have the ability to compare that with the same products and services from other banks, as opposed to a mortgage broker who has access to 30-40 lenders in their panel who can provide you a robust comparison and tailored a product that's going to suit your needs. What is a common mistake you observe from your client when they're preparing for a loan? Look, I wouldn't say that it's a mistake. A lot of people don't know the documentation requirement for lending. Now, it could be because they haven't had loans before, or it could also be that every bank has different requirements. A lot of usual things we see, which creates a bit of a hurdle during a loan application, is not being up to date with the taxes. That's probably the number one reason why a lot of businesses can't get the funding, especially coming out of the COVID era, where a lot of businesses carried their taxes and government allowed them to do so. Now, seeking a business loan with major banks, that puts you in the back burner because they want to make sure they lend to businesses who have the cash flow to be able to pay the loan back. How much money should you be making to afford $500,000 car? Ooh, okay, so this one's very subjective. Affordability of a car is relative to the income and asset position of that individual person. Now, as a rule of thumb, like my rule has always been that if you're buying a car that is worth less than your 1 year net income, I could justify it. If you're buying something more expensive and you're paying 2, 3, 4, 5 times your yearly wages or yearly income, then you're probably overspending on the car. So where you're at in terms of the income bracket, the debt position you're in, your assets and liabilities, and your income, you should consider all of it to assess whether you can afford to buy that $500,000 car or not. What is your advice for small business looking to apply for a business loan in 2023? I would suggest you start thinking about the purpose first, and then how much money you need and when you need it. Now, a lot of people go and apply for a business loan thinking they need a certain amount, and then once you start forecasting your cash flow, what you need may be slightly different or completely different in many cases. So there's a lot of things you need to consider before you make a decision about what the loan amount is. And when you sort of look at your personal, as a director, as an owner of the business, you look at your personal asset liability position as well to understand whether you have the ability to borrow or not. Why is basic financial literacy important for first-time or inexperienced business owners? Now, financial literacy is important whether you're a first-time business owner or you own a multi-million-dollar business. Being able to understand the profitability, being able to understand your balance sheets, and being able to understand the day-to-day financial impact of every decision you make is very important. What should you do when you start to notice you cannot afford to service a loan and start falling behind on your repayment? You have to think about what your options are. Now, if you're talking about a home loan where you cannot afford repayments, for reasons relating to your income side, then you have to look into what you can do to reduce or eliminate those repayments altogether. Now, as an owner of a house or an investment property, it could be selling one of your properties. If you're talking about a car, it could be selling your car. Now, ultimately, you have to decide what's more important for you. Now, some may choose to carry on those debts in hope that in future those investment will yield them a greater return, but it shouldn't be at the detriment of your financial health. Can a business that does not make use of lending grow at the same pace as the one that does? If so, how? Probably not. A business that has no access to lending may not grow as fast as the business that does have access to lending. And the reason being, the business that does have access to lending can invest into their manufacturing, their wholesale division. They can increase their stock level. They can really capture a larger market via sales and possibly increase their clientele as well by going into a different geography, all of which will cost money, and the business that has access to those monies will be able to be more successful than the business that does not have access to the money. My business has existed for 3 years and has broken even every single year. I'm not sure how to grow and make profit in this fourth year. What actions can I take to make a profit this coming year? And when you would consider throwing in the towel if I'm still only breaking even? It's an interesting question. A lot of business in the first few years will have this problem. Now, once you're mature, you probably have a little bit more experience in the industry and experience on how to effectively run the business. But for the first few years, you are going to be learning and you are going to be making mistakes. As long as you have the financial ability to continue operating the business, breaking even is not necessarily a bad thing. In saying that, you need to make sure that you see this business being successful at a point of time. Okay, lucky last. You are tasked with starting a business from scratch. All you have is your mobile phone, a computer, and $100. Where do you start? I'll say start by planning. Planning your business, what it is, where do you want to take it, what do you need during the journey. Now, to plan a business as such, if you have an idea and you know it works, it may not take a lot of finances, a lot of funding to plan it. Now, every business will require a different capital when you actually go ahead with the business. So it really depends on business to business, but I'll say start with the planning. And yes, $100. There's not a lot you can do with $100 these days, apart from buying some stationery for the business, or when you plan it. You might need energy when you plan a business, so maybe you could use it to go buy food. Right, that's the end of the Q&A for today. Just a quick disclaimer, all the answers I've given you is based on my opinion. Please do not take it as personal or financial advice. Please do your own research if any of these questions are relevant and you are looking at making any decisions financially. Thanks guys for your time. If you have any questions you'd like me to answer, please feel free to reach out to me. I will see you next time.